Hello and welcome to another episode of AC Talking Bowls with me, AC. Thanks for joining me. Bit better news, isn't it? Coming out of lockdown, those of us that play winter bowls might be able to get back on the greens. Happy days, happy days, happy days. It's nice to have something to look forward to. That's all I'm saying about it. I hope I find you well, I hope you're staying safe, and I hope that you are looking forward to another 20 minutes or so of me rambling on about, well, what it is you'll find out presently. So first of all, guys, thank you so much for joining me and letting me entertain you for a little bit. If you're not already a bowls buddy and a member of this wonderful channel, please hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell for notifications of new content on the channel, which at the minute is only once a week, unfortunately, because there ain't a lot happening. And please also consider liking this video if you've enjoyed it, and don't forget to comment. More comments, the better for me and the show. So, well, last week, I think in passing I mentioned about the situation that's currently going on in the Leeds area. And the following day, I was reading a few bits and pieces on Facebook that were posted by laurahassoun. Hope I've said that right, Laura. And I just wanted to find a little bit more out about what was going on, and she very kindly sent me an email that she'd sent to her MP and a few other people, and I just want to talk about that for a little bit. Try and maybe give her a little bit of publicity and maybe get a bit of interest drummed up amongst the Crying Green bowling public out there. And I think I said last week, you know, we will find our level when it comes to the number of greens that we need, but to have 62 greens in an area, which apparently Leeds has 62 bowling greens, and from memory, when I was a student back there in the 90s, a lot of greens had multiple greens. I think it's the park opposite the university used to have 3 greens, I think. Anyway, by the by, to just say, right, we're getting rid of half of them seems a bit severe, to say the least. And then when you look into it, they reckon each green costs £4,000 a year to maintain. So they get rid of 30 greens, that's £120,000, but then they're going to landscape them, which will cost them £40,000. So they're basically saving 80 grand, something like that, getting rid of 30 greens. Now, there might not be the number of people bowling to maintain the need for 60 greens, but that doesn't mean that they should just be chucked aside, half of them just gone. And I think about the other amenities that you find in parks, you know, football pitches, skateboard parks, cycle paths and cycle areas, multi-use games areas, muggers. I don't mean muggers with masks and knives, but muggers, multi-use games areas where they play basketball and five-a-side. And all I can picture, envisage, is the absolute uproar that would be going on now if they said, oh, we're getting rid of half of the five-a-side pitches and half of the football pitches, half of the basketball courts, we're just getting rid of half of them straight away. They'd be going on about, what about the poor disenfranchised youth and disenchanted youth and all that? We're lucky as Crying Green bowlers that you can play our game whatever age you are, but it's a fact that the majority of people that use the parks greens, not just in Leeds but but all over the country, are of a certain age. And we're in the middle of a pandemic that is targeting people over a certain age, but yet we still need to be fit and healthy, we still need to have exercise, we still need to be mentally healthy, and a lot of that includes going out and seeing your friends. And for a lot of people, bowls is their life. It's a lifeline, not just individual, but for groups, large groups of people, you know, that go to these park greens every day, and they don't have to arrange it, they just know that they're going to go there, and if somebody's missing they get worried and they find out and see what's happened to them. And if you close a green, where do those people go? They have to leave their community, their area, and travel somewhere. Maybe they don't want to drive, so they have to go on a bus, so they have to carry the bowls on a bus, which might not be possible if you're of an age. And it's not just straightforward, is it? It shouldn't just be about money. It shouldn't be about money. I'm a realist and a capitalist, and I believe in lots of things, but sometimes there are things you can't put a price on, and having somewhere for people to go, to exercise, to interact with one another, and just to live, be human, be part of something, is something you can't really put a price on. And in Laura's email that she sent me, there's some, you know, things in there that really hit home. You know, things like greens where ashes have been scattered. You know, they're just going to go, they're going to become what? An orchard, in the case of Hare Hills Park, where she's a member. Apparently they had 3 greens, and one of the greens is now an orchard, which cost them 40 odd grand to do. Seems just ridiculous. I mean, like most areas of the country, I think it must be free to play bowls in Leeds. I know it is here in Rossendale. Well, if it's a financial thing, a small token payment from every bowler would be okay. To say to use the greens, it's going to cost you £20. Can you imagine what would happen if you said, right, if you want to use this 5-a-side area with the lights that are on all night, you're going to have to pay £25 to play in it, you know, for the year. You'd get laughed at because it wouldn't happen. But yet bowlers are, you know, we need to pay our way, yes, and maybe £20 is a reasonable amount. But what about these people who don't play bowls but walk through the park on a nice day and think, I'll have a game of bowls? Can't do it, can they? Another reason why bowls is waning, because people can't just have a go. And we mentioned it last week, they used to have somebody sat there behind a counter. People could go and hire bowls and pay their money and go on the green. Well, they got rid of those because they were costing them too much money. The council said, oh no, we can't have people sat in these huts for however long, they're not worthwhile. So they got rid of those, and now they want to get rid of the greens because it's going to save them £4 grand a year. When you think about it, it's absolute nonsense. When it comes to, there's close to 1 million people living in Leeds. There's about 800,000, I think, at the last census, or something ridiculous like that. And we're talking about the amount of money, like £80,000 a year. Well, I don't know about you, but I pay my council tax, and it seems to go up every year. And I never seem to get any more for it. In fact, my bins get emptied less, and I'm pretty positive a lot of that money goes to the council and goes to provide the upkeep for parks and recreation facilities. Well, what's it being spent on? Is it being spent on new art installations in the middle of parks, or these fancy five-a-side pictures with the floodlights? Very possibly. It all seems a bit of a nonsense and a bit of a short-term thing, because as I said last week, once they're gone, they're gone. And I've got a short clip of something that I'll put on in a minute. I find it really depressing that at times when, like this, when life's hard anyway, they're saying, well, we're just going to cut half the facilities that we currently offer. I don't think any other sport would allow it. And I wonder if British Crown Green know about this. I wonder if they've been informed, or what their views are, or whether they're trying to liaise with the council, or because that's what they should be doing now. Because if one council's thinking, well, if we get rid of half the bowling greens, it's going to save us 80 grand a year, there'll be plenty of other councils up and down the country thinking, yeah, what a good idea that is, get rid of the bowling greens. Now, I started bowling in a park, and I'm sure the vast majority of people playing bowls currently started bowling in a park, and it would be an absolute crying shame if half those greens went. Now, Laura is she's set up a Gofundme page, and it's a bit like for the Waterloo, you just pledge the money and you don't pay it unless you need to. And she set a figure of £240,000, and it's a figure she doesn't think she'll raise, but she just needs to show the council that there is interest, that there's people that care and people that still want these facilities. And I know money's tight, but again, if there's a bit spare and you don't mind donating a £5 or a £10 or whatever, you know, if you could, that'd be brilliant. If not, I'll put some links onto Facebook pages and groups where you can get more information. I think there's a public consultation going on, which is part of the email that Laura sent me. I'll also put Laura's email address in the description so you can contact her directly if you wish. She's very passionate about this, is Laura, reading her emails, very passionate. It's a family thing. All the family bowl, young kids as well. Late father has his ashes scattered around the green at Hare Hills, and I like to see the passion that Laura has. I wish more people had this passion for the game, and I just wish we weren't at this stage with things being so everything about money, not about people. These greens, they're a lifeline for some people. There might be the elderly, there might be those that don't have family, those that don't have a lot of friends, but they have their friends at the bowling, and you know, we need to keep that community spirit going. And just as the situation in Rossendale with greens, we're actually very lucky in Rossendale. We have 6 parks greens in 4 parks, 5 parks, 3 in Haslingden, 1 in Rossendale, and 2 greens in a park in Bacup. But it isn't that long since we had another 3 greens, and yesterday I just had a trip out to have a look at them, and this is what I saw. Okay, so first on my little tour of Rossendale and the greens we've loved and lost, especially in the parks. This is Edgeside Park, which was my home green for a long time. I started playing here when I was 8 years old, and left in 1998, and it's the first time I've been back actually. I think this green went around 20 years ago, certainly late early 2000s, and at one time we had 3 teams on here playing in 2 different divisions, and it was a great green to play on, really tricky, 40 odd yards square, lot in it, very subtle, lots of different paces, and as you can see it's pretty much overgrown. You see all the surrounds are, well, not looked after at all, and I think even when they decided to close this green down, the Edgeside was still playing here, playing in the Rochdale League. They may even have had 2 teams in, but basically it was getting harder and harder to stop the vandalism. Despite this park being very big, with full-size football pitch and 5-a-side pitches and tennis courts to play on, plus other grassy areas, obviously having a manicured bowling green to play your football on was better. So that's Edgeside Park. The old hut is now the kids' playground, which I don't really want to film too much because there is somebody playing on it at the minute. That's where the hut was, which was a wonderful place back in the 70s and 80s, and here we have the greens in a really sad state of repair, and it's actually quite depressing. Here there used to be beautiful rhododendron bushes keeping all the wind off, and there's plenty of wind around Edgeside, I should say. So that's Edgeside Park, a wonderful green in its time, and gone, and well, they basically play football and whatever they want on it now. On to the next one. Okay, so we've moved from Waterfoot to Bacup, and we've come to one of the highest crime greens in above sea level in the country. We are absolutely on top of the world up here. Maiden Recreation Ground in Bacup, lovely big area, lots of football pitches, lots of Sunday League teams play here, big children's playground and other changing room facilities and things like that. And here you can see behind me what the bowling green is, what state it is in. Lovely big green, and you see in the distance there behind there is Bacup Golf Club. Many's the time a golf ball's come over onto the green, and at one point this green had 3 teams on it, 2 for Bacup Rec and a works team called Sutton's, which is a shoe factory in Bacup, and they were one of the top teams in Rossendale at the time, with Sutton's. Unfortunately they went a few years ago, and I'm not 100% of the story behind why this green's closed, whether it's because of lack of interest from the bowlers or lack of interest from the council or what, but this went maybe 2 or 3 years ago, can't just remember why, and I think the players have gone to another green in Bacup Park, maybe as playing as Bacup Rec, or maybe joined as other teams. I'm not 100% sure on that. I know they went down into the 2nd division, so I just lost track of what's happening with them. But again, lovely big green. It's always heavy, never played this running, but it was in usual good nick, no bumps or anything like that. Difficult to play. If I just show you this was the hut that was left. It's not particularly pleasant, unlike the views, which are absolutely stunning, and I'll show you some now. It's actually really depressing seeing that green. It was always heavy, but I don't think I've reached corners on there now. So if I just show you some of the views of the Bacup Rossendale hillside. You can imagine here in April, the first game of the season, just how bitterly cold it is. And I can tell you now, it's absolutely freezing. God, I wish I brought my hat, but another last view of the green. Very sad, very depressing, and like I said last week, they'll never play balls on there again. Okay, so finally we're at the other end of the valley. I've come in a big circle actually. We're in Loughclough and Loughclough Park. Now this is the one green I know the least about. I only ever played one game on here, and that was when I was back at school, maybe 14, 15 years old, in a cup game, and I can't even remember the last time Loughclough Park were in the league, to be honest. This must be 20 plus years since it was played on. Another lovely big park, basketball courts, lots of facilities, and I don't know if you can see it now, but basically dog walkers use it to exercise their animals and let them let them go to the toilet on it. So that's what this bowling green has become, and it's really quite upsetting. Not as upsetting as an Edgeside, because obviously I've got personal memories and emotions about that, but this is really sad. Where the bowls hut used to be is now another playground. It looks like it used to be swings, but the swings have been taken off, obviously vandalised. So yeah, beautiful big green. I can't remember a single thing about it. All I know is that they used to bowl on here and now they don't. So that's three parks greens that have gone in Rossendale, certainly within the last 20 years, and it's left us, I think, with six parks greens dotted around the valley. So bit of a sad trip, but just thought I'd show you and see what the future could bring. So you can see that, you know, they closed the greens down for whatever reason, vandalism, cost, whatever it was, they weren't worth opening. Now I know for a fact Edgeside was used regular, Baycup Rec was used. I don't know about Loughclough, like I say, it was a bit out of a limb on there, and I didn't know if they had a team or not. But they just left to go fallow and overgrown, and people walk their dogs on, and those greens will never ever come back. They'll never be anything other than a bit of wasteland, and that is such a crying shame, all for a few grand a year. It's really sad, and visiting Edgeside actually did upset me quite a bit, but I might do a longer programme about Edgeside actually. In fact, I've got some photos here. This is from look at the hut on that, isn't that beautiful? Isn't the hut beautiful there? My dad presenting a few prizes there. Look at the hut, absolutely looks like it's twinned with Beirut. And this was the Edgeside team that won the North Lancs team championship many years ago. And then this is a final day photo, and you can see on the right hand side here a certain Mr. Michael Holden Esquire. Yeah, so we've had some of the greats playing on the green. Well, Mike Holden anyway. So I'm going to leave it there about bowling greens, because it will get me even more depressed, but I'm not going to dwell on it too much. We'll quickly run through some of last week's comments. So it's time for Comments Corner.
Comment Corner.
Okay, so the first one, reply from Michael Martin. If you remember, I was talking about Canal Side and one of the lads that played there, Kyle Spencer Halsall, that's the guy I was trying to think of. And he's saying that all the team that left Canalside now play at Almonbury Lib, and the oldest player in the team is Michael at the age of 34, which is, you know, the sort of thing that we need more of in bowls. The next comment was from Ted Holden. Andy, at my club I'm often asked how to help or coach new players of all ages. I'm not qualified, but I try to pass on the basics. Whilst you have little to put into your excellent weekly videos, could you possibly introduce some coaching clips and advice for beginners? Thank you. Well, Ted, I don't know if you look back through some of my videos, you will see Tuesday tutorials, which is aimed at beginners and those that have been playing for a little bit, but you know, not for a long time. Those are pretty good, I think they're a good start. But if you do want to give some beginners some advice, the main one I would say is practice your delivery as much as possible. Make sure it's easy, make sure it feels natural to you, and once you've got a good delivery, a good starting point, everything else comes from that. So plenty of videos there. I think there's 6 half-hour videos, 6 15-minute videos, something like that. I am going to do some more when I can get back on the greens in the better weather, so that'll probably be March, April time now. But thanks for getting in touch, Ted, really appreciate that. Stuart Johnson, hi AC, great show, keep up the good work. I was watching the Greenough Whitley Classic at the Carmill Hotel St Helens. What a jazz green. What's the best worst jazz green you've played on? Mine was Paddock Institute and Con Club in Huddersfield. The green has about an 18-inch high shelf across the top third of the green, which if your ball doesn't make it over, it can end back at your feet. I have experienced Paddock Institute. In fact, it was the first green me and Karen played a mixed pairs on, and it didn't go too well. Not only the shelf, there's 2 big bomb-hole size craters in the green, and basically you miss the road by 5 yards and it all goes to the centre of it. So I said to Karen, I said, right, go anywhere you want apart from in those bomb holes. So she sends the jack out straight into the middle of this bomb hole, 4 down, head's falling off. So we get in a few ends later. I said, right, whatever you do, don't go in any of these bomb holes. So right, no problem. So thumb peg straight into the other bomb hole, another 4 down. Well, that was me gone. That was me absolutely gone. You just could not get away from the jack, and whoever had last ball was favourite to count the end. So yeah, jazz greens. God, it all depends on what speed they are. But the wheat sheaf at St Helens is just a nonsense green. It's so difficult. And you've Camden and Bedworth. I think those are the 3 that, you know, people really know, and if they're quick, they're a nightmare. But to be honest with you, none really leap out apart from those 3, and I'm sure I've played on quite a few. But the other summer when we had really hot weather and the greens got baked, I think nearly every green was a jazz green. So yeah, thank you for that, Stuart. Keegan, he wants me to explain the geographical and historical reasons why Crying Green Bowls is played in certain parts of the UK but not in others. Well, that I could fill a programme with that, no problem. But mainly it's a class thing. The wealthier people played behind hedges in lanes and up lanes, and they played a more like a flat green game, and the poorer people tend to play outside pubs on wasteland and played wherever they could, and it just developed from there. That's a very basic thing, and I will do a thing on it in the future. Charles Cooper, what do you think of the new footwear rule? I think this is about open-toed footwear whilst on the green. in any match played on the association's jurisdiction. Well, this has actually been in for a couple of years now, I think, and I know a couple of people who are affected by it, but it's only when you're playing in BCGBA events, from what I can gather. And I think local leagues might enforce it, but again, not 100% about that. Personally, I think if you're playing open-toed footwear, you're leaving yourself wide open to injury, and I don't think that's really very good. But some people like playing, like I know Andrew Wadsworth, Andy Mailer, they always seem to play in their flip-flops and sandals, so maybe. It certainly won't affect me, because I always play in the same trainers, even though I have 150 pairs to choose from. Gary Wallace has put a really nice message on about why he packed in bowling, and I would encourage you to go onto my comments and have a read of that. Somebody, well, a few people emailed me and said, "Oh, what are you choosing them for? What are you choosing them for?" And these things are only my opinion. I don't profess to be the absolute oracle on all these things. So what about Bob Hitchin? And yeah, Bob Hitchin I could have easily mentioned Bob Hitchin, big tournament winner in the 90s and the 80s. But I don't automatically think of a particular period when I think of Bob. He's just been a great player for a long time. And somebody else, well, Andy Spragg's won everything. Andy Spragg. And I'm like, yeah, Andy Spragg, yeah, again. No qualms about Andy Spragg, great player. Played with him at Thongsbridge, awesome player, awesome record, awesome talent. But again, when I think of 90s, I don't think Andy Spragg. He's 90s, 2000s and on, so that was my reasoning for picking the players who I picked, because when I think of 90s bowling, that's who comes to mind. And I'm not saying that the players I picked in the 90s bowling were only any good in the 90s. That's not what I'm saying. So I'll wrap it up there. Just want to say thank you again for watching. Stay safe, guys. Hopefully you'll join me next week. I'll definitely be here. I hope you will. Stay safe. Keep the faith. And enjoy your bowling when you get a chance to. See you next week.